So hopefully these examples clarified the specification of reliable broadcast for you. So the next question to ask if reliable broadcast actually gives us a desirable degree of message reliability. And the answer is that it depends. So we can imagine a class of applications in which any unilateral action might be harmful if it is taken by any process, even if this process is a faulty one, if it crashes later. So, for example, we may have an application in which all correct parties must act on a received message to achieve a desired outcome. However, with reliable broadcast, it is possible for a message that is broadcast by a faulty sender to be only delivered by processes that crash, not being delivered by correct processes. Okay, so just recall the second example that we considered. So that could be problematic for these kind of applications. And to address that, we can boost reliability of RB and introduce something even more reliable. So this primitive that we're going to discuss now is called Uniform Reliable Broadcast, or URB for short. And it addresses this problem that we discussed with the unilateral actions by requiring all or nothing delivery for correct processes. So what it is exactly? So again, in terms of the interface of URB is exactly the same as the interface of the other two broadcast services that we discussed. So it supports events of type broadcast, where we can broadcast a message, and it supports indication events of the form deliver, and they give us a message and they process that send that message. Then in terms of the properties, it supports these four properties. So let's see what they are. So the first property is exactly the same one as the validity property of RB. And the second property again is the same as the one for RB, and the same goes for the third property. And finally, the fourth property is the interesting one, and it is called uniform agreement. And uniform agreement says that if a message is delivered by some process, okay, so that process can be either correct or faulty. We don't say here, we don't specify. Then M must be eventually delivered by all correct processes. Okay, so this is the new property which replaces the agreement property of RB with something stronger, right? So to remind you, the agreement property of RB only required uniform delivery if a message is delivered by a correct process. So here we are talking about any process that can deliver a message. So even if a faulty process delivers a message, then everyone must eventually deliver that message. Okay. So to clarify, let us again look at a few examples. So in this example, again, a process P1 broadcasts a message M and then crashes. And this message is actually delivered by process P4, which is not the correct process. It also crashes later on. And the question is if this is allowed by the specification of URB. And the answer is no, this is not allowed. And this is not allowed because the uniform agreement property of URB dictates that if any process, even a faulty one, like P4 in this example, delivers a message, then this message must also be delivered by other correct processes. by all the correct processes. Okay, so P2 and P3 must actually deliver M in this example if the message is broadcast via URB. Okay, so here you can see the difference compared to the reliable broadcast. For the reliable broadcast, this scenario is okay, and this is because the message is only delivered by a process that crashes. It is not delivered by any correct process. And therefore the agreement property of RB actually allows M not to be delivered neither by P2 nor by P3. So that's not the case with URB. URB we require uniform delivery even if a message is only delivered by process that crashes. Okay. So here is another example. So it's similar to the one before, but here we have both P2 and P3 to deliver message M. And this example is, of course, allowed. And this is allowed because here we actually satisfy the uniform agreement property, right? Because process broadcast message and is delivered by a process that is not correct, but it is delivered by it. And in that case, this message also must be delivered by P2 and P3 by uniform agreement. And it is actually delivered by both P2 and P3. So this scenario is allowed by URB specification. So let's see another example. So in this example, process P1 broadcasts a message and then crashes, and then this message is actually not delivered by any of the remaining three processes, P2, P3 and P4. And all these three processes are correct. They don't crash. Okay. And the question is if this is allowed. And the answer is yes. So this is allowed by URB as well as RB as well as best effort broadcast. And this is because the sender is not correct and the message actually does not get to anyone who is either correct or faulty. Okay, so in this case, the delivery is not required by URB as well as all other broadcast primitives that we have discussed.